Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about our next upcoming winter storm for portions of the middle portions of the United States in through the northeastern United States. It's going to be very exciting to talk about this with you guys. Also, this is our first video of 2020. I'm super excited to start a new year with you guys, and I'm very excited for the plans we have for the future. Now, before we get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends and family if they do live in the affected regions of this video. Now let's get right into things. As you can see here, first things first, we're looking at our warnings, watches, and advisories. We have some winter weather going on for the Rockies. That's not really a part of our storm here, but that flooding in the deep south actually for Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Tennessee, all those greens you see, which is flash flood watches, flood warnings, things like that. The lighter green is the flood warnings, which means it's a little bit more imminent. But all those areas are dealing with a lot of water going on, and that's actually associated with our system here eventually. Now, we're going to get into our Futurecast radar in just a second, but we're going to start talking about our storm track here, and I love making these maps because I think it gives a really good idea of what I'm expecting for the storm, obviously. We do have our low pressure system is going to be developing mostly in the Tennessee and Kentucky area, and then make its way, as you can see, through into the northeastern United States and then offshore of New England, potentially bringing some impacts onshore. Now we're about to add some painted on layers to this where you're going to get a much better idea of what impacts certain areas could be feeling from this system. On our first layer here, you can see we have a chance of snowstorm, obviously, within these blue areas. There's going to be enough cold in place to where north of the low pressure system, there is definitely a chance within all of these areas that we will be having a snowstorm. And it's a very tall area, and that's because the low pressure system could be located more further north over central portions of Illinois and Indiana and Ohio, kind of bringing no snow to a lot of the southern regions of this bluer area. But it also could be farther south like I'm showing here, and that would bring snow more towards the southern end of these blue regions and maybe snow showers towards the northern end. We'll have to get a lot closer, as I'm going to probably be updating you guys on this storm a few times, as this one looks to be our next major snow system, which is exciting because it feels like we've had a little bit of a lull with the systems, obviously. Now we do have a second layer here on this storm track map, and that's going to be our chance of major snowstorm for this deeper blue region here. Once that storm moves offshore and is over the ocean, it's going to start to really gather a lot more energy, and that's why we have a much better chance at a major snowstorm within this deeper blue region. That's not to say that we won't have a major snowstorm in some of the lighter blue areas, but definitely the biggest chance of having major impacts is within that blue area. Again, it could actually be further north or further south. We do know that it's going to set up somewhere just to the north of that low pressure system's track once it's offshore and over the ocean, like I said before. Now we're about to get into our Futurecast radar and take a look at the GFS model, our European model, and our Canadian model, which is going to be super exciting to see what they're thinking as far as Futurecast radar, and then eventually their total snowfall as well. Alright, so as you can see here, we're going to be dealing with, this is on the 3rd of January, maybe later on the 2nd of January actually. So this is going to be Thursday into Friday. We do have a lot of that rain going on for the deep south, like I said, and we see there's a low pressure system over Oklahoma and Texas, and that's driving a lot of this precipitation into the deep south states and even up into some of the more central states as well. Let's move on one frame though, and this is going to be towards Friday, January 3rd evening. And we see that low pressure system is beginning to really form over Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, right where I showed it on that storm track map. And we see a little bit of blue showing up there for Missouri, and that's the beginning of what is eventually going to be, obviously, our snowstorm. Now, a bit of a warning here as we move forward. The GFS has the weakest solution out of all of these models. It has hardly any snowstorm. The European, by far, has a much stronger system, and the European is by far a much better model, and we're going to be taking a look at that one in a second. But all things are, I want to place on the table so we can take a look at all things and take all of these solutions into consideration, obviously. Let's move towards Friday night into Saturday. This is probably 2 a.m. on Saturday, January 4th, and we do see some snow occurring there for Chicago and further south into Illinois, as well as the very northern regions of Indiana. We also see southern Michigan getting some of that as well. Our low pressure system on this model is showing up in the central regions of Indiana and Ohio. Again, I mentioned that was possible, and that's because this is what the GFS is showing. One more frame here, and you can see things move all the way over to interior New York here, and it's a 995 millibar low pressure system by that point, and we can see a deep trough right behind it. There's plenty of cold for this system to bring a lot of snow to a lot of regions. It's just if it takes this track on the GFS, it's certainly not going to live up to its full potential here, whereas the European definitely has a different solution. Now we're about to move on to more of the later portions of this storm, where we're going to take a look at those New England portions where it could become very major, like I said before, and then we're also going to take a look at our European model, which is going to be exciting. All right, here we're looking at our outlook here for Sunday morning, January 5th, and you can see that low pressure system is a 982 millibar low pressure system just offshore of Maine. So even though this one has it further north, it certainly doesn't hold back on having a very major solution here for New England. And this would drop probably over 6 inches of snow, probably some areas getting 10 inches of snow if this solution was to verify. So even though it's kind of a disappointment for the more inland areas, once it reaches New England on the GFS, it certainly is a little bit more major. It's just further north than what other models are showing here. Now, we're moving on to our European model here, and this is going to be, again, Saturday the 4th into the 5th. The European has a much later start to it, and the cold is more in place. Again, we're going to have to just keep an eye on which one of these solutions starts to win out. We'll see one fold towards the other. But this is it once the low pressure system is located just offshore of New Jersey. You can see there it's a 992 millibar low pressure system. And we do have snow falling for Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and a lot of New York there as well. In those more purplish shades, it's very heavy actually as well. We have a much more major solution here on the European model. Let's move on one frame, and this is once it's offshore of southern New England, and this would be a very exciting solution, and certainly the most major solution. You can see from New York City through Connecticut into Rhode Island and Boston, as well as coastal Maine and southern New Hampshire. We have heavy snow falling at this point with a 985 millibar low pressure system just offshore. This is almost a Miller B nor'easter type system here. So this would be a very major solution. I'm going to keep a very close eye on what this model continues to show, as well as the other models. This is probably heading into the afternoon of Sunday, January 5th. I would say this is about 1 p.m. on Sunday, January 5th. So very, very exciting stuff there that this model is showing. Now, just briefly, I wanted to show you your Canadian model as well. We're about to get into that, and then we're also going to get into our total snowfall forecast for all three of these models as well, which is going to give you a much better look at how much snow we could expect with this system. All right, so as you can see here, the GEM model also has it pretty far north, kind of like the GFS. It's ahead of schedule here. This is Saturday, January 5th afternoon, and we can see a 998 millibar low pressure system located in northern Pennsylvania there. We see some snow showers going on for Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Mostly the heaviest snow is located in northern New York, though, and northern Vermont here. Let's move on one more frame, and this is going to be by Saturday night, probably about 8 or 9 p.m., and we see that heavier snow entering New York, upstate New York, very far upstate New York, in through Vermont and New Hampshire, and Maine not really getting included. This one really just doesn't pull up the coast like it does on the other models. It's a 996 millibar low pressure system, but it's just staying offshore, and it never really becomes very major whatsoever. Now let's take a look at that total snowfall on all three of these models. Like I said, here's first off your GFS model, and you can see we have a general I would say 1 to maybe 5 inches of snow there for Missouri in through Illinois, but it's very isolated. In those pink dots, that's where we're looking at maybe closer to 6 inches of snow. We also see some pink there for West Virginia as well, in through some of the lake effect regions where it's probably lake effect enhanced in Pennsylvania and New York. But we see northern New York in through northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and central Maine. Remember, I said Maine on the GFS model looked very major, actually. We see a general 6 to 12 inches of snow for these regions, so very major in northern New England if this solution was to verify. Now let's go ahead and also take a look at your European model, and this is, again, a much, much more major solution. We see those purple showing up. That's where we're looking at a general 6 to 9 inches of snow. It's once we get into the pinks, that's where we're looking at 10 to 18 inches of snow. And you see that popping up there for central and northern Indiana and through the northwestern portions of Ohio. Very interesting to see this model showing extremely heavy amounts of snow there for those regions. And then we see in through the southern regions of western New York and through some of the central New York regions, we see a general 6 to maybe 11 inches of snow. Same story for northern Massachusetts and through southern New Hampshire, and then coastal Maine. we all are seeing about 6 inches plus for those regions. But we see a general 1 to 3 inches of snow for all of southern New England, New York City, up through Boston, which is very, very exciting to see. And then real quickly, let's take a look at that Canadian model. And it's not quite as major. We do see some of those maybe 6 to 10 inch amounts there for upstate New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, but this is probably the least amount of snow of any of the three. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm going to continue to track this storm for you guys, and we'll have multiple videos on this storm, so rest assured we will have much, much more information coming up on this storm. Thank you for an amazing 2019, and I'm happy to begin this year. Hopefully, we continue to have amazing content. That's what I plan on, of course, just having amazing content. And I have much, much more exciting stuff coming up for the springtime and summertime. I can't wait to share with you guys. And I hope you guys are along for the journey. Thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you guys in the next video.